All right, Chava. So I'm glad I was able to finally get you on the show. I know we talked briefly off air, and you were saying you have a lot of family time. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm from Mexico. My mom is visiting. She is
Yeah.
visiting from Guadalajara. I live in beautiful Las Vegas, so there's a lot of distractions here. So I have my mom visiting. I had other family members visiting, and at the same time, I'm trying to work. I'm trying to get things in order. But yeah, everything always works out, man.
So
Sometimes I think it can, and then it does.
were you born and raised in the States, or how'd that go about?
No, I was actually born in Mexico, in Guadalajara. So I learned English at 16, watching Seinfeld. I moved to the U.S. when I was 16 years old.
Really?
Um, yeah, my mom and my stepdad, he's American. He's a very nice guy from New Jersey, and they met in Guadalajara. And then years later, we moved to the States. I was 16. So I went to
Where
school in
did you
San
move
Diego.
San
To San
Diego?
Diego first. Yeah.
Okay,
And
cool.
he was a big fan of Seinfeld, and I used to just watch TV with him. And I mean, he's been in my life since I'm like 9 years old, man. So it took a while for us to move to the U.S. So he's really like he's like my dad, and now I'm in Vegas. So I've been in San Diego, then I moved to Los Angeles, and then just about 2 years ago in Vegas.
So what was that? So you spent 16 years in Guadalajara, and then when you came over to the States, what was that initially like when you first came over? What were your impressions? How did you feel? What was that? What was that process like?
Bro, it's difficult. I mean, when you're 16, just think about you're a guy, you're 16, your hormones are just like popping. All you want to do is talk to girls, and when you don't speak the language, that's not good. you know,
Where,
I
where,
couldn't talk to girls, huh?
where in San Diego? I lived in San Diego for 2 years. Where did you live, or where did you initially move to?
Lived in La Jolla, so I went to school there by UTC in La Jolla, so when we moved there, my main goal was to like learn English, and I was able to go from what's called ESL, like English as a second
Yeah.
language, to advanced English in just a short period, about 6 months. And I think what really helped was that I forced myself to speak English. I took a drama class, and
Okay.
a lot of people are afraid of public speaking. So I was all right, we're playing level field here. Like they're afraid of talking in public. I don't speak English. Let's go. And so I was doing like Shakespeare monologues on the stage, and really like trying to understand what I'm saying without knowing what I was saying and acting it out.
Yeah.
And I came from there on. I just learned it.
Well, you're very charismatic, so it looked like that drama class paid off. So how long?
I had to learn English.
Yeah. So how long did you? What happened? What was your transgression, or not transgression, but where'd you go from there? So you lived in San Diego. You live in Vegas now. How did you go from a 16-year-old non-speaking English Mexican to the rising star that you are now in Las Vegas?
I appreciate it. We're still growing. So learned English, Seinfeld, went to school at the University of San Diego. So I did university, college studies. I did postgraduate degrees, and at that point, I started like a little company that was throwing parties. And honestly, like that's what I was gonna do for the rest of my life. I was taking college students from San Diego across the border into Mexico, and what started like
TJ?
20 people, yeah, from 20 people to 150 people to the next one is 1,000. I mean, our company really grew, and we were getting sponsored by Monster Energy, by Universal Studios, just like big corporate brands, and I was making tons of money in cash, man. I was making like $5 a person, and I was bringing 500 to 1,000 people a week. Think about the responsibility of being 20 years old and bringing 1,000 college students across the border into Tijuana on party buses,
The party bus?
bar,
Okay.
huh?
Yeah. I was gonna say, how did you bring them over? I didn't know if you walked across the border, or because it went through San Isidro and then you just like walked over.
Yeah.
Or...
So you're familiar, but
Yeah.
anyone who watches this and is not familiar, like San Diego borders with Mexico, and really it's a 20-minute drive to get into TJ. And it's not that uncommon if you live in San Diego to go to the border of Mexico, especially if you're not 21, you just get across the border. But we had so many people that we started renting like party buses. And then at that point in time, there was not enough party buses in San Diego. So we were chartering actual buses. And anyway, that turned into my very first sort of like entrepreneur experience where when we did a partnership with Universal Studios, that was huge. And I announced it, and I had 800 people lining up, and on campus, giving me like $30 a person. And I was like really young. Now I had to pay all this stuff. And honestly, like all the money sort of disappeared. When you're young, you just, I don't know. I was buying
Easy come,
everybody
easy
breakfast, food, breakfast. We were just young. And I was like, I'm going to do this forever. And of course, like things changed. Like then passport requirements, and then, a lot of other stuff. Then as a result of that, I the university was very well aware of who I was. And actually the vice president of the university, I was going to go into a master's degree for psychology, and that was my direction. And she says, like, you have a talent for bringing people together. We have an event management degree, like postgraduate degree. And I was like, event management? He's like, yeah, you plan the parties, don't you? I was like, yeah. I was like, can I make a living, like an actual education? He's like, yeah. So I did a postgraduate degree in event management, and everything has to do with logistics and planning and all that stuff. And so from there on, my first job was with Brisk Iced Tea. It's a small, like, I shouldn't say small, but it's a beverage.
Yeah. No.
Some people may know it, some people may not. But I didn't know at the time that Brisk Iced Tea was owned by Pepsi. So I did a really good job in San Diego, and a year later I get a call from Pepsi. And they're like, hey, we're looking for a field manager in Los Angeles, and you were the best in San Diego. They moved me to LA. They gave me an apartment and everything. From there on, I lived in LA, and I did several jobs, and I worked several corporate jobs. All had to do with branding and advertising and marketing. And at some point, I decided that, I saw an opportunity for what I do now, which is, I do mobile billboards now. My company, In Motion Media Group, we do mobile billboards across the country. And that's really how it started. Like I was driving in LA, and I was like buying these billboards, and I'm trying to find the best position for these billboards. And then you realize that there's, white semi trucks right in front of you blocking the way all the time in LA. And then I was like, shit.
When you say you were buying these billboards, you were buying them for work, correct? You didn't have a separate.
Correct. I was working for corporate brands. Yeah, I was working for the corporate brands. I was buying the display on the billboards.
And so did you have like an aha moment of like, okay, I'm doing this in the corporate world, these advertisements, Sunset Boulevard, etc., going down the freeways, I could sell these advertisements as a business? Or how did that kind of transpire?
Because I worked for like corporate brands, I had millions of dollars in budgets, and I'm buying some of these billboards, especially the ones you mentioned in Sunset Boulevard, Hollywood, and downtown Los Angeles, like on the 405. See, Los Angeles has 6 of the top 10 busiest freeways in the country. So the billboards that are on freeways in LA are extremely expensive, tens of thousands of dollars, and people don't realize that. And so when I was buying them, I was like, holy shit, someone owns that billboard, and and I'm putting this 3 month, 6 month, 12-month commitment to buy this billboard at $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month. And then once it's sold, that person is just sitting there, just collecting money all the time. So, for years I was like, well, that's their business, and I didn't really look into it. And because there are 6 of the busiest freeways in LA, while driving, you always get stuck behind big trucks, transportation trucks, carrying trucks. And then it just hit me. I was like, holy shit, these are all blank canvas to me. Like I see these more than I see the billboards. And the average consumer is not driving, like looking up and seeing who's putting what ad and everything. Like I do it because that's my business, but the average consumer needs to be focusing on the road. So if you don't see a truck in front of you, you probably shouldn't be behind the wheel, first of all. So it almost forces you to see the advertising, right? And if you're, I'll use an easy example. If you're driving, wherever you are, San Diego, Chicago, Dallas, whatever, but you see a Coca-Cola truck, like what would you assume is inside the truck, right?
Yeah,
Coca-Cola, right? Like that's what you naturally assume. You're not gonna think that the Coca-Cola truck has tomatoes or carpets or shower curtain rings or whatever it is, and that's really what it is. The consumer perceives that the truck is carrying the brand, and the brand outside is carrying the product on the inside, and that's how it hit me. one time I was following a truck for a specific beer brand, and I was just following it, and they stopped at the grocery store or whatever, and then I saw the guys unloading a competitor beer. So they were showing on the truck outside one beer, but they were unloading cases and cases of the other beer. And I was like, why are you guys like, aren't you guys like for this brand? And they're like, oh no, that brand paid us to put that on that truck, but we deliver all kinds. And I was like, holy shit, like that's it. Like even I was fooled, even though I'm in this business before. And that's really how it started. I was like, I bet I can fool other people by putting brands on the trucks and have them perceive. Now, obviously, that only works with product, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're Geico or a bank, or you don't think Chase Bank is inside the truck, but you know the point. It's just an added value if you're an actual product. So that's how it started.
And so, how did you get your first client, first customer?
That was rough, man. First of all, I proposed this idea to the company that I was working for. So my job was to spend the money from the corporate brand in the best way possible. I was trying to make the brand grow. That was my role. That's what I was doing. And so I sat down, I had dinner, and I had started a new job, and I said, hey, I got some ideas. We can do this, and move around this. And instead of buying these expensive billboards, $40,000, $50,000, like, maybe we can get these trucks, for $5,000 instead of $50,000. We can get 10. And I remember, like, I was told by, at the time, she was the vice president of the company in marketing, and she just said flat out, she's like, oh, you're new in the company. You just got started here, and you're already trying to change things. And it sort of set the stage for me to be like, all right, man, you've been 1 week on the job. Shut the fuck up and, do what you're told right now and then try to improve. And I did, but then that idea sort of like persisted in the back of my head for the next couple of years.
So let me ask you something. So if, like, let's say you're looking at like digital marketing, right? And so you can track it. So let's say you're like, all right, there was 5,000 people that clicked on this link and we got a conversion ratio of whatever, 3% or some bullshit like that, right? So how does it go about for a truck? So you say like, all right, let's say Pepsi or whatever, we're talking products, and, Dos Equis is on the inside and on the outside. Oops.
Right, I lost you. You were saying about Dos Equis, and I think
yeah. So I'm saying, like, if Dos Equis is, let's say, on the inside, right, and then Pacifico is advertised on the outside, how do you pitch it to somebody to say, like, all right, 1,000 eyeballs will see this, and like, how do you guys measure the success, or how do you pitch it to them?
So two ways. So one is the physical impressions. The magic bot in motion happens when we merge the real world with the digital world, which is probably what we should get into as first. So at first we just started like, hey, let's just put billboards on trucks. That was it. I wanted to do 3 trucks. The company grew, and then the brands were asking me, for more data. Now we had been tracking everything. So our trucks have a beacon device installed in every single truck that we have. And so this beacon device is able to capture what is called a mobile advertising ID from your device. So we're able to capture, gender, age group, income level, whether they're coffee drinkers, own a pet, parents, whatever it is, like hundreds of categories, sports enthusiasts, hotel luxury, or, fast food eaters, whatever it is, right? And so, but that information is useless for me. Like, I don't need it. But then brands really wanted that information. So the way we are able to track our metrics is twofold. One, we can tell you exactly where your trucks were, how many people actually saw it with 100% certainty, because we're able to trace that directly to a device, to a mobile ID. We're able to tell you metrics on those IDs. Like we can't have anything personally identifiable. So anything that's illegal, obviously we can't touch. So let me clarify that. So these mobile ID devices, when we grab them, you have a mobile ID device. I have one. Everybody has one that has a cell phone, smartphone. And that is linked to everything that you have on your phone. So because of that, we're able to know income level range, gender, whether male or female, age group. But if I see one of my trucks, like, it's not going to say, hey, that's Chava Mercado. He's 38 years old. He makes this. It'll say like male, Hispanic, between 20 and 40 years old, drinks coffee, whatever. It'll place me in categories. Now, when these trucks are
if I'm understanding this correct, there's a tag or something on the truck. We'll say like, and you're saying, okay, Pacifico's on the outside, the digital ID, and whatever, 100 cars drive by, and there's 100 cell phones, and each cell phone has a different demographic, different whatever, sex, age group, race, whatever, a couple KPIs, and then the company, all the cars, 100 cell phones, whatever that drive by, you're able to collect that data and give it to Pacifico, and Pacifico's like, okay, and then they can say within the La Jolla area from whatever the 5 down to the 805 is a demographic of like 18 to 24-year-olds between 9 a.m. and 10 p.m. or something like that.
You actually are very familiar with the area, so since you know LA, I don't know if everybody who will watch this knows where LA is, but yes, in essence, we can give them, if they're a big corporate brand, we can give them those mobile IDs, and then they should be able to utilize it. But most people, I mean, when you see a list of mobile IDs, it's like the fucking Matrix. I mean, it's a Excel sheet with hundreds of thousands of IDs, and they're just long ass numbers. And unless you know what to do with them, you won't know. It won't serve you a purpose. So we're able to we sit down with our client, and I mean, we'll use Pacifico. That's fine. That's a good example. Obviously, we can't advertise to people who are under 21. So we're not going to be buying IDs for under 20, people under 20 or ads for under 21. That's illegal. Now, let's say Pacifico is launching a new campaign, and they're like, we really want to target college students so that we get them like right and early. So then we're able to correlate those IDs who have seen your trucks with the exact demographics that they want. So if they want, they pick 10 college campuses, 10 universities, 50 universities across the country. I mean, whatever they want, and then we're able to match those IDs to the people who have actually seen your truck. And that's where the magic happens, because anybody can, put trucks or ads on the billboard on the road that you can see them. And anybody can buy Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, whatever it is. But the magic for the consumer happens once they get an ad on their phone, they're scrolling through the shit, and then they see it. And then they're like, oh yeah, I've seen that truck. But they don't realize that we know that they've been exposed to the truck 3 times, right? So once they've seen the truck 3 times, we're like, you know what? They've been primed. They're ready to get our advertising. And so then we start sending them our advertising on their phone and, iPad, whatever it is. And so they click on it, and we're able to track all of that. We're able to track how many, ads we posted on the digital world, how many times people clicked on it. And, if they want us to, we could put a pixel on people's websites, conversions, website lift, and all that stuff. But in essence, that's how we track. And every company that we work with, they want different things, right? So some big companies, they don't care about the digital. They just want to look bigger. So if you're a big corporate brand, like if you're a Gatorade, if you're, a Coors Light, like everybody knows what a Coors Light is, or should know if you're living in the US, right? You don't really need to explain what Coors Light is. So all they want is like big trucks everywhere showing up and everything. So that's their strategy. But if you're a smaller brand that you're only in certain states, like a law firm or an insurance company or a product that's smaller, or you're launching a new product, then, you want to also educate the consumer. So you send them to a digital, website, landing page, and all that stuff. So that's really what InMotion has sort of morphed into. We're a digital company. We're a data company that happens to put ads on trucks.
I like it. So where do you guys see you guys going in the future? Do you guys see building out in other cities, going international? Where do you see?
International is a tough one. In order for InMotion to keep rolling, to keep moving, you have to have the infrastructure. And the main thing is you have to have the trucks, the operational, the drivers, the routes, the tracking. And so, I've been offered a couple of times, like in Mexico and a couple other places in Europe, but I just don't have the infrastructure there. Like I don't have a fleet of trucks and drivers that I can trust, and installers and cameras and everything that is required for me to document the process of, of capturing the brands and everything. So for now, our plans will be to remain local. Local. I mean, we're in all 50 states. We have the capacity to be in all 50 states because we have that operational background already. But I've mentioned this only maybe in one of my reels where, like, I know where things are heading, and I'm a strong believer of the metaverse. And if you could buy a multi-million-dollar mansion or property in the metaverse, the moment that there's real estate, there will be advertising next to it. Like you just have to tie it into it. And the Snoop Dogs of the world and the people that are already into it and that are making, buttloads of money, eventually that'll be, the next generation where they're spending a lot of time, enough time on the metaverse that it will be very interesting for advertisers, to advertise. So the next move for us, I'm working on having some digital mobile billboards, some trucks on the metaverse where people can actually have a truck, have a party and invite them and get them on a concert or whatnot.
Yeah, that'd be very cool. Yeah, oops, hang on one second. Sorry, my camera turned off. All right, there we go. So I live abroad in Thailand, and we have a service called Grab out here. It's basically kind of like Uber Eats, but everybody's on motorbikes and delivers. And I was thinking for like when I was thinking of like you guys, right? There's like zero advertisement, right? And these drivers probably make 400 baht a day, which is like $12, right? Drive in the sun, like there's no advertisements on anywhere on there. Like, I don't know how like you obviously know more, but like swing it, like maybe they will wear decals or on their jackets, or there's like a small little billboard on like their cooler on the backside. And then if you had, 20 to 30, 40 of those of the same advertisement in the same city, like it's like a hornet's nest of little bees just flying around. Like I guarantee there'd be so much buzz of like, oh, Pacifico. Like, what's this restaurant? And like, I don't know. I think that's kind of like
the same color. If you put your riders, so in essence, that's what InMotion is. Like you're basically branding where people have to be looking, and that's on the road. Like they have to be, unless they're gonna run over this guy delivering the food or whatever it is. Like they have to be looking at the guy. Now, the drawback on that, is just the size, right? It's hard to compare, a motorcycle with a 53-foot semi and an 18-wheeler. I mean, those you cannot not see. Like you have to see those. And the same goes for like, a typical 26-foot. And the 26-foot ones are like the U-Haul, like moving trucks, right? Like they're half the size. Mm-hmm. They're still pretty sizable. It's hard to miss them. But there's restrictions in some of them, right? Like the 18-wheeler, as awesome as it is to be huge, like it can't go into narrow streets. There's some Department of Transit, weight restrictions and things like that. So that's why we started with the big trucks, and then we went into the 26-footers, and then eventually someone asked us, hey, we don't want them for 6 months. We just want them for 3 days here at this conference, 5 days here at this, football games, or these. And so then we expanded our third product, which is LED trucks. And the LED trucks don't have any cost in printing. So if they just want them for 3 days in Atlanta or 3 days in Chicago, and then 5 days later, like it doesn't cost me to print anything, right? I just need to get physically the LED truck there. Now, but I go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, the way you're thinking is exactly how it started for me. Like it was more like there's a need where people are already driving, people are already riding their scooters, their bikes, they're already delivering. So I like to consider InMotion as the Uber of advertising. We don't own the trucks and we don't own the brands. We just put the two together. See, these trucks are already doing their deliveries. That's how we're able to get our price so low and down that we're able to, like, pretty much, be cheaper than traditional billboards and everything else. Because these trucks are already driving.
Sorry. Could you possibly incorporate QR codes on the billboards or on the advertisements? Like if you said, like, I mean, I don't even know if this is legal or not. But like if somebody scanned the QR code and they're like, scan the QR code, get a free beer or something, like an extra incentive to show that they've seen the billboard. Is that can you do something like that, or is that illegal? Like if people are driving and then they're trying to like
Beer
scan a
definitely is
QR.
illegal. The beer is illegal. The QR code is legal. The QR code, we've tried it. It has never worked to the expectations of the brand, and that's because honestly, people shouldn't be taking out their phones. I I had a feeling it was gonna shut out again.
Hey, Chava. Yeah, so I was basically saying, what year did you start? What year did you start Emotion Media Group?
So officially, I registered the company while I was still working full time, and I just, like I told you, I had the idea, and it just sort of simmered for like a couple of years. I decided to go full time with InMotion on January 1st of 2020. So it's going to be 3 years on it, but technically, you know, we're on the track for the 5th year. But so in 2020, I left the job that I was at, working full time, and they gave me a couple months severance, and they're like, hey, maybe 2 or 3 months, whatever they gave me. I had to make a choice. I was like, do I either go find another job that I was qualified for and you know, potentially make, you know, a 6-figure income, or do I bet on this idea and I go all in? So that month of January and February, I was just getting everything ready, interviewing. It was just me, but I had no other job, so I was just doing everything. And on March 1st of 2020, I got a nice office in downtown LA, right at the building. I was like, let's go. I paid for it 6 months in advance. I was like, you know that thing, like you have to burn the boats, right? Burn the boats so there's no turning back. And holy fuck, man, that really came back and bit me in my ass. 2 weeks later, the world shut down. I mean, this was January 1st, 2020. And then on March 1st, I rented the building or the office. And then 2 weeks later, you know, COVID hit and they shut down the world. So I was like, holy crap, like this was not a good idea to start a business. I have no insurance, no benefits, no income generated, nothing. I paid this in advance. And then everything just sort of like started like caving in. And that's really when I started, you know, dipping into everything that I have worked for that we previously discussed. Like I've worked in my career, and I was just, all the money was just getting burned on up until the point where I had about $7, a little less of $7 in my bank account. I lived with my girlfriend at the time. We're now engaged, but there was this like burger place right down the street from our house where we lived in LA in Redondo Beach at this time, man. And because of COVID, they had this like big sign, dude, that it said like, it's a big neon sign. It said like $8 combo special or some shit like that. And, you know, I would look at it and I remember I told her, you know, it's sad, but I was like, you know, one day I'll be able to afford that burger for you. So sad. So sad, man, because I had lost everything, man, right? And I was like, oh my God, like I don't have $8. And so that was like a dark time in the business, and some group of investors from Newport were gonna buy out the business. Essentially, they were just gonna take over. I was gonna become an employee of my own company, and every time we got a client or a check or anything, they were gonna handle all the money, take their commission, which was 40%, and then give me like the difference. And so I was like, and 16-page contract. I pinned it out. I signed it, and before sending it, I just you know what, I'm just gonna pray on it, and I laid it on my table, and yeah, I had $7 and change in my bank account, and I was like, well, there's no, I mean, what else can I do? My girl wasn't working either because of COVID, and my mom was sleeping on our couch in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was shit times, and the day after I signed it, the contract, and left it on the table, I received an order. I received like an order of like 6 figures, and then fucking my mind exploded. I was like, holy shit.
$1 million divided by $8 combo burgers is yeah, that's
So,
awesome.
There is a picture, and if you see me now, holy shit, I might try to find it. I'm sure my girl, maybe you can put it right here next to it, and you can see my face because we took that check and then we went and bought that burger. Like that was the first thing we did with that money. Like I really took her there, but I looked fucking dead, man. I looked like strung out on like meth, like hair's long, like this, like oh my god, bro. Like it was just like it's
Yeah.
crazy, just to think about it. And she took a picture of me because that's what we ate with our first paycheck, and then from there on, you know, we've been able to.
I love the
Got
story, man. I love the you know the obstacles that you had to overcome, and it really shows a lot. Like $7 in your bank account, invested 6 months advance on the place. Like it takes a lot of courage, and you have to dig deep, and you had a lot to rely on, a lot of skill sets that you've developed over your life, and that all applicable to, you know, starting your group or starting Emotion Media Group, and you know, to where you are now. So now I want to just transition to Instagram and, you know, social media. So you did this, you got your first $100,000 or whatever 6-figure check, and then you started, basically you didn't sell the company. And then how did you decide to start taking social media seriously? What made you do that? You know, take us down that avenue.
Sure. So, I mean, you fast forward 2 years to where we are, you know, this summer of 2022, and I had built now a multi-million-dollar business, which blows my mind that the company grew so fast during a world pandemic. I mean, it really is like astonishing that not only did we survive, but we thrived, which shows that we're really creating value for the business, the company. I love the brand, people that we work with, and so at some point, if you could probably look back in my Instagram, I was fully focused on growing a business. So if you look back on my Instagram on 2021, just all of 2021, I only posted 2 pictures on Instagram.
I have, yeah.
I think one where I was climbing the Rocky steps, which was a big goal for me, and then another one with now my fiance at the time. We were having dinner in Miami, I think. So in all of 2021, I posted just 2 pictures. I was just really focused on the business and the growth and everything. And then one day if you look back at my very first reel, I'm in my car and I'm just like, all right, you know, to all my 7 followers, you know, I've decided to become an influencer. And it was a joke. Like, you know, it's funny because I really had nothing. More than 7, but you know, it was funny enough where I could say all my 7 followers, and I'm in my car and I started getting fucking hundreds of like messages and DMs and everything. I was like, you totally should do it. And so then I started posting around like 2 days later and days later, and then it really started picking up traction. And then I was like, holy crap! Like, and you can see my growth from those.
I'm looking at it now. You go ahead. My camera's a little blurred, but
there you go. Okay, so you can see the 2 pictures right there. There's my girlfriend and I in Miami, and then next to me, right, I'm in you know, Rocky Balboa steps. And then the next one is in my car. So because of that positive sort of feedback from people, then more feedback. And then you can see me just talking on some of these reels that are really just me with the phone and saying, hey, I'm thinking about like making this bigger. I'm going all in for the next 6 months. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers. And that was just like an outrageous goal. Like that was like, I learned that from The Secret.
Goal,
yeah, I learned that from The Secret. Just like put an outrageous goal and just get as close as you can, if anything. And then we're halfway through. We're three, almost 4 months in, and we are already past that 50,000. And so that's really how that's crazy to me that we're really on track for doing that 6 months and 100,000 under 6 months. But now, you know, my content has actually developed into more things, right? Like now I have people who actually follow and document and edit and do stuff, which you mentioned, like the edits are really important. And that's really like, it's really how I transition, man.
What's up with the backpack? I saw that. I was like, where does somebody, I was like, am I out of America? Like, is this a popular thing now? Like, I don't even know. Like, where do you even
backpack that, I started wearing that for conferences because I travel a lot.
Yeah.
And now that I'm growing the personal brand, you can't imagine how many people like actually stop me and ask me for the backpack or take a picture with me. To me, that's like, oh my God, that people are like, this is what I do already. I do advertising. I do billboards. This is a tiny scale. This is an ad that's this big. So when they meet me, what do you do? I was like, well, I do this, but on a large format across the country. And that's an easy way for me to introduce my business to other companies. And so now I go to these conferences and I'm always wearing the backpack, and I always get stopped multiple times throughout the day and multiple pictures. And and I pivot into saying, hey, if you want a picture, you follow me on Instagram, and then they do it all the time, and it has helped my personal brand. It has directed me to clients, to business. That backpack has made me a lot of money. A lot of money.
How'd you get that idea though?
I like to dance and party and rave and shit like that. I used to do that.
This guy's are like EBC like rolling, and he's like, "Yo, I'm gonna throw Chava on here. It's the Chava. Let's go."
That was, like I was saying, I was doing those parties in TJ and everything. So I had a period where I really like partied and had a great time. And so, anyways, like I always loved like lighting and things like that. And so the idea of the backpack just came about, and my marketing manager said, like, so you can actually put anything on it. You can put pictures, notes, and how it started. Really, I would be taking pictures of people in conferences that were like either falling asleep or picking their nose or doing something, and then I would put the image on my pack, and then I would walk, and I would have them see it, and then my camera guy would film their reaction. That's how really it started. It was just like a joke, and then famous people, like actually fucking famous people with like millions of followers, and people that I look up to, that they would be at these conferences, and then they would want to take pictures with me. So then I would take a picture with them. Then I would take that image, and then I would put it on the backpack, and then they would post the picture of themselves on my backpack. And it was like this fucking like Inception effect, just like very meta. And that kind of got me like thousands of followers, man. It was crazy.
Dope, man. And are you trying to grow on any other platforms other than Instagram?
I think I have a TikTok, man. I'm sure I do. I don't manage it though. I should be getting into like Twitter and other platforms. I want to get into YouTube, honestly. I need to film long content, format stuff. Maybe this interview, in the end, or maybe other stuff like that. I can start putting it together. So short answer is yes, I have to. It will look more robust. I'm still trying to grow the business, which is the main thing, and other things that I'm trying to work on. And more
very
platforms.
Cool. Very cool. And lastly, I just want to touch base. So you, I saw briefly, so you're going to start creating a course. Is that correct?
So and so on the comments that people are messaging me, maybe people want this. People want this conversation. It's very difficult for me to answer all the questions if I just like talk on it and then record it and film it and sell that course. Yeah, that'll probably be more productive for me as far as time goes. I could put in 10 hours filming something and sell it, and it could continue to sell and sell and sell. But I think people from the response that I've been getting so far, they want to have, like coaching calls instead. So most likely that's what I'm going to do. So I've been putting together the material. So I'm going to be doing some maybe like weekly Zoom calls where the way it's looking out to be is like I'm gonna help people like get clients, and then I already done all the hard work, so they don't have to do it. So all they're gonna get is like money commission, because most people don't have $10,000, let alone $50,000 or $100,000 to sustain a business, like a large scale business. Like what if they land a $500,000 deal? Like how the hell are they gonna like sustain the trucks, the printing, the installation? They wouldn't, right? They would immediately collapse. That's what would happen. And so now that we have the infrastructure, the business, the operation, everything, anybody with $1,000, with $500, they can come in and they can learn from me how to get clients, how do I find them, how do I get them, the materials, the sources, and everything. And then they can just, maybe I'll use that calendar app where they can just book appointments for my team or for myself, and any deals that are close, then those people are going to start getting, a referral fee, a commission fee, affiliate fee, whatever you want to call it. So sort of like a real estate, you sell something, you get your real estate commission. However, I think this is a lot more lucrative, and it goes on. So once a real estate sells a house, they don't go back the next year and be like, hey, can I have my commission again? Because you're still living at the house, right? So what we're going to be doing is like, you close a $500,000 deal, $1 million deal, whatever it is, and you're getting 3, 5, 10, $1,000 a month, $100K a year, just in one deal alone. That's crazy. Like people, and you don't have to invest anything. Like I teach you how to do it. You don't have to pay for the trucks or anything. And it's also, it makes it where it's not mandatory for people. Like I don't want to be show up at 9:00, have 1,000 calls, call them up, or you're fired. Like it's not going to be like a sales-centered call. Like it's going to be like, listen, you may be a full-time dad. You may have your job over here, or you actually may know somebody who works in media and marketing and can buy these things. Your neighbor, your cousin, your aunt, your kid, whatever it is, and refer them to me. And if something comes out and it closes, here, I'll pay you $2,000 a month. I'll pay you $10,000 a month, whatever the commission ends up being, for as long as they have it. And if that contract renews, they can make a lot of money. And I've been doing that with some people, just not out in the public, like just people that I interview and I trust, that work in different industries. But man, there's guys that work for me that I don't know, they probably get like $100,000, $150,000 a year per deal. So that they made maybe like $300,000 in the last 2 years out of one freaking deal, man. They're like retired, smoking cigars, playing golf. Like, don't give a shit because I wire them money every month. That's because they got me a really good connection contract, and that contract has continued to develop. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if the course will be. I think that's the best for me, but I think for actually helping somebody else would be what I'm doing exactly right here with you. Just like
there's probably somewhere in the middle, right?
So that's
nice,
that, my man.
Very cool. Well, let's wrap it up. So what's the best place for people to find you if they're interested in consuming more of your content?
Absolutely. So my personal Instagram account is InstaChava. That's the one that I really read and focus the most. That's where you found me. Our business company handle is InMotionMG, MG for Media Group at InMotionMG. You can also find those on Instagram. And our website is www.inmotionmg.com. Those are the easiest ways. You can see the clients that we work with, our brand, and definitely if you see this, give a shout out, send me a text message, or not a text, but a DM, and I try to do responding those. That's that.
Very, very cool. All right,
take care, man. Good luck, man. We'll talk soon.